I'm a survivor of a traumatic event. One big thing that stands out is it was my 12th birthday. So, of course, I remember that. I remember we were actually, myself and a group of friends, probably about, I don't know, 5 to 10 of us, probably closer to 12, because we were a super close group. We're going to the movies by ourselves for the first time that night. So our parents were actually going to drop us off. We were going to go to the movies, and it was a school night, so it was huge. I remember going in Miss Shannon Wright's class. She was really close with another family member of mine, and I remember her telling me she was going to paddle me because it was my birthday, and she gave me a really sweet card, a birthday card, and I remember class being kind of wild. I remember her taking attendance, and I remember the fire alarm going off. Shortly after that, I remember one of my friends, Jamie, saying that there's not a fire, it wasn't a fire alarm. Andrew pulled the fire alarm. I saw him, he pulled the fire alarm, he went out the back door. And so Miss Wright was like, well, okay, well, we still have to, line up and go through protocol, like that's what we have to do. And so we did, and of course we were shuffling our feet and weren't really, we knew it wasn't we knew that we were just going outside for no reason. You could tell the teachers were kind of like, well, what do we do? If a kid pulls the alarm and it's really not a fire, what do we do? But teachers being teachers, and sometimes we're a creature of habit, we just did what we were supposed to do. I remember hearing noises that sounded kind of like firecrackers, but it also sounded like noises that we had heard before because of the construction of the school. It kind of sounded like, if you drop a plywood board or like a 2x4 on top of another 2x4. That's in my mind. I remember thinking, well, that's what that is. And then it wasn't until then, you heard screams, and then you see people running, and I don't ever really recall looking out and seeing it. Just looked like a blur. Like it just looked like chaos. Like everyone was just running, and it was like, well, this is a fire, this is a fire alarm. Why are we running? And then I was walking out, and when you walk out kind of under the awning, the trash can to the left of us, and it was myself and a friend, and then another friend, a 7th grader who actually got shot. She must have been a step out of the awning more so than we were. When we saw her fall, that's when we realized this is something else. Myself and my friend that was right beside me turned and ran back in. Well, when the doors shut, they lock from the outside in. And another teacher was saying, just run to the bathroom, which was a pretty good ways down the hall. It seemed like then, it probably isn't really, but we ran down the hall into the bathroom. Another teacher saw that the student had been shot, and she actually was able to open the doors and pull her inside. I remember going to the bathroom. I remember sitting in the stall. It was just myself and the friend that was still with me, and that teacher and maybe one other person, and I can't recall who the other person was. And we just sat there huddled up. For the life of me, I don't know why, but I remember picturing like someone, not a kid, an adult with a gun, like coming down the hall, and what would we do in that moment? It seemed like it just all went by so fast. Someone was coming in and telling us to go to the gym. In order to do that, you have to walk out of the hall. You actually have to walk outside. The gym wasn't attached. You have to walk outside to get to the gym. So when we walked outside and we saw, by this time, ambulances and stretchers and other teachers, kind of hovering over, they told us, don't look, keep your head down, just keep your head straight down and go to the gym. They had us all holding on to one another and walking in the gym. And then when I walked in the gym, it was like the same chaos that I saw when I looked out the door. No one knew what to do. Everybody was just kind of in the gym. Shortly after that, I remember our teacher just telling us, just get in a circle and pray, just hold hands and pray. After that, I don't really remember anything. Jonesboro became united after that day, I think. It reminds me a lot of after the U.S. became how the U.S. became after 9/11. Jonesboro kind of became that day. We put a Band-Aid kind of on this big wound that we had, and the students, we weren't the only ones who suffered that day. I mean, the entire community did. The entire town did. It's kind of like, I remember exactly where I was whenever I heard about 9/11. I'm sure everybody that was in our community remembers exactly what they were doing at the time that they heard about the West Side shooting, because it wasn't supposed to happen to us. Like, it's Jonesboro. This doesn't happen here. It's kind of like when you have a scab and you kind of pick at it a little bit. It's like that. Every single time you just kind of pick at that scab a little bit more. And I feel the same. I don't feel like I felt that day on March the 24th, 1998. I feel sorry, like I feel for those people, for the students and for the community that's going through that. I feel sick, like it's physically ill every single time. I feel like a new wound gets open every single time. I recall what happened to me every single time. And then I just want to just extend my arms and just hug those people so bad every single time. For someone who's gone through this, that eventually it will be kind of a faint memory. But it's really not, because every single day when I drop my kids off, I think about, what if? Every single day. Now schools are becoming so much more proactive. And so my children have talked to me about this, because they say, well, Mom, we had, active shooter training today. Or, my 5-year-old will say, well, when the big bad wolf comes, we're supposed to do this. And, she's in kindergarten. So because they've become so proactive with it, I feel very confident in sending my children to school, that they're safe. I've struggled because I've been, I told you I've been with my girls every day. I've walked them to class every single day. My 8-year-old, since she's been 3 years old, preschool for 2 years, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, walked her to class every day. This year, not being a teacher in a district, I can't walk my kid to class every day because the doors are locked. You drop them off, you let the teachers take them. So as a mom, I hate it. As a teacher, I completely get it. I understand. But I feel confident that my children are safe. But, I also felt safe too. So I know that I'm not naive in the fact that it can't happen, because now I know that it can. I just pray to God every day that it doesn't. My 8-year-old, her name is Natalie, which was named after Natalie Brooks, who was one of my good friends who was shot that day. So she knows where her name comes from. She knows that Natalie was shot. It wasn't until recently that we have had discussions about that happening at a school. I just kind of very vaguely answer her questions. I answer them truthfully, but I don't give her all the details. I don't feel like she's ready for that just yet. As I don't want to scare her. But she knows that it can happen. She knows that it happened to me and, her father. And she hasn't really asked a ton of questions about it. I think that we just need to continue to make our schools more proactive. I think that we need to discuss it. I don't think that it needs to be, swept under a rug or hidden. I think that our students and our teachers need to be aware that it can happen, and that if it does, in the event that it does, then we're prepared. I don't really know what the right steps are to do that. I don't really know. I don't know if gun laws are the answer. I don't know if arming teachers is the answer. But I just hope and pray that I never have to go through it again. I mean, I want to teach my kids right from wrong. I want to teach my kids to be able to cope so that they don't ever feel like they have to do something tragic like that. I don't know that it's a law that can do it. I feel like that it's people that are doing this. It's not a gun. It's not a weapon. It's a person that's doing it. You know, empathy and love, and so many times that's absent in the minds and in the hearts of those who are committing these acts. And I think as a parent and as grandparents and as teachers and any type of educator, like, we tend to forget that. I've grown so much in the past, however many years it is. I've grown so much, and what happened on that day is very much a part of me. It has shaped me as an individual. It's shaped me as an adult. It's shaped me as a parent. But I refuse to let it define me. And I just hope that anybody else who's gone through any traumatic event, that they do the same thing. You push through it, you pray and you get through it, and you let it shape you, but you just don't ever let it define who you are. That'll probably be it.